for help, no one will heed you. Your mind is totally controlled. It has been stuffed into my mold, and you will do as you are told until the rights to you are sold.
Welcome to Liberal Buzz Show. Here's a thought for today. A couple thoughts for the week. Maybe you can just keep those thoughts with us all the time. If they aren't trying to kill you, you're not working hard enough. That was on Brent's Facebook page, but he took it down. He was my guest last time, and that was quite a show. It's on my YouTube and Twitter. It was about Microsoft now versus honest elections, because they're either in collusion or they're just useful idiots. And so I'm just starting off with that. We've got a lot. Now, Shona was ill. She hasn't been on our show lately because she's dealing with a lot. She's been poisoned in her house. So Shona Gokenauer, the Educational Director of Axis of Love SF, a compassionate cannabis community, meaning we give pot away. Nobody talks about us, so we have to have our own show, and that's why I'm doing this. So, because I don't like people going to jail for weed, it'll wreck your life. And you shouldn't, why go to jail for something that's saving people's, that's a no-brainer. So, just because they don't understand doesn't mean they care. So, see, this meeting I went to the other day, it was an Axis Action Alert. There was a hearing, and I took videos, 9 a.m. tomorrow, regarding the cannabis department. They're the ones, the gatekeepers of all the weed, of the billionaire club weed. But they actually did cave in a little bit to making permits cheaper. But the window of time closes. So if you don't decide real soon, it's not going to happen. They're making it so prohibitive, So, well, I went to that hearing, and what they said was, I have the Budget and Finance Subcommittee agenda, and it establishes an Office of Cannabis and extending the term of the Cannabis State Legalization Task Force. And it's sponsored by Sheehy, who was appointed by the mayor, and Malia Cohen, she's my Facebook friend, and I respect her, but I disagree with her on this, and she might not even see my rantings on Facebook. Who knows? If she did, I wouldn't be my Anyway, yes, I love you, Malia. Take care of your people. Yeah, I know you will someday. Okay, ordinance amending the administrative code to establish an Office of Cannabis, to authorize the director of the Office of Cannabis to issue permits to cannabis-related businesses, to direct the director of the Office of Cannabis to collect permit application and annual license fees following the enactment of a subsequent ordinance establishing the amount of those fees, and to extend the term of the Cannabis State Legalization Task Force. Now, if you remember, Shona and I had our own task force. I've got, videos, hours and hours of about 100, over 100 hours of videos of our task force meetings, which we were blackballed, gaslighted, ridiculed, you name it. Anyway, they just beat us with everything they had, every weapon in the kitchen, They really did, including the frying pan, the cast iron frying pan. So, but the plant is smarter than these nitwits. Sorry, it's smarter. The plant is smarter than people trying to regulate it. I see that coming. I'm not really enthusiastic about buying the so-called legal cannabis if my tax money is going to people, to incarcerate people, to give the cops more tools to bully us. It's not even it's a slush fund for 80% goes to a slush fund. So it's really it's bad news, people. I don't want you to get caught up in, because it's only letting 250 folks out of jail. This is the show I was going to do last time, but this voting, Brent called me in because of the voting issue. So every time, Brent always takes precedent for everything because it's another civil rights issue that nobody is talking about, and that's open source voting software. And it's kind of the same thing. They were being treated the same way, gaslighted, outspent, ignored, ridiculed, you name it, spied on, hacked, all that. So now I'm going to let you soak this in while I talk about some other things, because it's a lot of information. The money trail. I'll be talking about this later. It leads to this long-established Republican kleptocratic oligarchs. See? Follow the money. I'm not going to... I want to get to this other art. We haven't got more than 20 minutes. So what we have on here's the San Francisco Cannabis office. This is a statement by Patrick Monk. Like many old-school cannabis activists, I'm appalled and abhorred by the Prop 64 and its repercussions. It essentially perpetuates prohibition now this is a doctor or a nurse, well, imposed by a similar cabal of compliant politicians and their corporate paymasters 100 years ago. And the corporate paymasters are right up here. You know, Paul Volcker, the Drug Policy Alliance, who took over the Milk Club, by the way, gave him a lot of money. You got to show up at those milk meetings. I can't just stand there alone with 10 signs and nobody wanting to hold them, you know. There are people that are holding. In fact, I did get to talk to them, and they asked me all sorts of questions that should have come up before the election. But, oh well, call a ambulance. You know, I'm going to counter this until I can't talk anymore, until I, you know. And see, the Federal Reserve Bank, they're not a public entity. The Federal Reserve Bank is a private entity. They're probably the Illuminati, the Eye in the Triangle, you know, the ones that have those crazy rituals. Yeah, them. And the Federal Reserve Bank in New York. So that was in the late 70s. Volcker, who was a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. So that was really, that's shocking. But yeah, it goes on and on. And down here at the bottom here, you'll be able to see. Okay, right here, Monsanto Corporation, Citigroup, Suncorp, you know, they're a lot. They're mainly responsible for the crash, the financial crash where everybody lost their property and money and got. So that's a petroleum company, petrochemicals, you know. Otherwise, this is fuel. People, you know, and the petrochemicals don't want us to use hemp fuel, obviously, do they? So I'm really happy to get this information out, and it won't be the last time I mention it, unless somebody else starts talking about it. So the compliant politicians and their paymasters 100 years ago, and we've been around similar blocks many times and are realistic enough to realize that the forces of profit and greed generally triumph over the will and needs of the people. That said, every cloud has a silver lining. This could be it. Among many others before him, Supervisor John Avalos promoted this idea some years ago, but naturally met resistance from the usual suspects. I hope he will redouble his efforts now. He is no longer up to his hours. Yeah. So that's a statement from Patrick Monk. The inevitable repercussions, he goes on, of Prop 64 might be interested in knowing about the unholy alliance between Monsanto and Bayer, who's a German corporation, so it looks like Germany's invested in our weed. And, you know, they're all in collusion with the private prisons, no doubt. So there's that. And even though Rob Bonta said he wanted to ban private prisons in California, I don't see it happening. Let me know if you hear about it. Because private prisons are not in the public interest. They have, you know, there's an agenda. And so and Patrick Monk ends by saying, hope you are all prepared for GMO ganja and more poisonous pharmaceuticals. And that's just his 2 cents. And he's a hospice care manager in San Francisco. So he belongs to several organizations, actually. Okay, and then on a different note, there's an attorney Now this is on Omar Figueroa's page. He's a good attorney for the cannabis community. Jessica McAlfresh is a San Diego lawyer practicing cannabis laws for years. She's been facing several cannabis-related felony charges filed by Jorge de Portillo of the San Diego County District Attorney's Office after Ms. McAlfresh helped secure a tremendous appellate victory in an asset forfeiture case. So that means that she helped somebody get their money back because the DEA and them confiscated it, which that's why they want to keep confiscating property. And Prop 64 I don't think it did much to stop that. So an issue was whether legal documents and digital data seized from Attorney McAlfresh's home and the office pursuant to the search warrant were protected under the attorney-client privilege. But the judge doesn't rely on the federal prohibition on cannabis. So contrary to the prosecution's position that the federal prohibition on cannabis means that the crime fraud exemption controls instead of the judge said that the further argument is needed on the federal prohibition, as the search warrant was based on purported violations of state law, not federal law, and probable cause was based on analysis of state and local law. So a lot of lawyers it was relieved. So it was a relief because, see, that's one thing about our country. It might suck in some ways, but we do still have something resembling a system of checks and balances. That means we have a court system that just is, we can keep things in litigation forever, while people evolve their opinions for the better, for the more liberal opinions, like liberals should. And liberals don't ride around in limousines looking down at people. So there you go. If you want to. And so we're talking about going underground, right? Because the prices are going to go up. And there's going to be a new light. Steve D'Angelo, actually I'm not a big fan of his in some political arenas, but this one, he spoke out against the new aspect of California's new medical marijuana MMRSA in March, suggesting it could triple the prices of cannabis in dispensaries due to the inclusion of a new type of license, the distributor. That means every time it changes hands, they get a cut, basically. It's like buying it off the streets after it changed hands 23 times. So how is it any different? And they charge less money, and it doesn't go to police. I'm just saying, hey. He was concerned that the mandatory inclusions of distributors will add 15 to 35 cents to each step of the process, which by calculation could double or triple the prices of cannabis in legal dispensaries. We're seeing that. If you see a $90 eighth, just, really. I knew weed was too good to pay just $10 an ounce for it like I used to in 1970. It was $10 an ounce. So, and it was a lot better too. I miss that brick weed, that Mexican brick weed. I need some of that. I miss it. It's better. My mom used to know I was high. Now she doesn't. Can't tell I'm high anymore. I just tell her I'm happy. So Green Flower shares the patient perspective as well as that of the small farmer. So it threatens the entire legal market, because many patients will be moving underground. So, and the tax revenue goals for the state are not going to be achieved. So if we do that, then let's get in another, I keep telling people, let's get in another ballot initiative, a real one that we wrote with no jail. There's about 27 or 30 of them, and they had to support jail time and higher fees and no wealth distribution. It's just mean meanies. Okay, and then and here's another bit of news. The Vapor Room, they need, we're good friends with Martin Olive, and we support them fully. They used to give people dabs in the old days. You could just come in and show your card, and they'd dab you out till you're pie-eyed. So we submitted an application for a new storefront dispensary. That's the Vapor Room. Remember, they used to be in the Lower Haight. In the mid-market district of San Francisco on 9th Street, there's a whole cluster of dispensaries around there. between Market and Mission Street. It's been a long time coming, and we're excited to reopen our doors, so they need our help. So Thursday, August the 24th, before the Planning Commission, and I'll talk about this again, go to the Planning Commission and put in some good words for the vapor room, because they rock. Take my word for it, and Shona's word. And they're collecting petition signatures, personal letters of support. So anyway, I recommend, also Relief Center is a pretty good one, but I don't recommend Spark. I don't. Spark is, they're the ones that started this Prop 64 in the first place. They're well aligned with the Drug Policy Alliance, you know, these monsters here. You know, remember them? Paul Volcker and Chase Manhattan and Carlucci, Drug Policy Alliance. And they're all about police. You know, they Drug Policy Alliance, they try to make themselves sound cool, but they ain't cool. They're not. And they took over the Milk Club, and I'm really mad. I don't know, I got to get over to the Latino Democratic Club and see if they took them over too, because I got to make some noise. Somebody has to. I made about 13 signs. If somebody wants to go there and wave them around, they'd be more than welcome to the Milk meeting, which is every second and third Tuesdays, in the Latino Club too. Because they have a lot of clout with the DCCC, the main Democratic club in San Francisco. So there's that, and so a lot of the growers are going to be illicit. We've got a couple minutes left. Now this is out of the leaf fly. There's 50,000 growers in California, but it doesn't look like all of them are going to go legal, because it's uptight. It's just the laws are too uptight. Seed to sale. You know, I don't know if they're doing that yet, but it might come to that, because they regulate different jurisdictions to make them even meaner if they want. Like they banned it in Fresno. So how do people in Fresno feel when they voted yes on 64, and now it's banned in Fresno? So ask people in Fresno how they're getting along with this, because you know, they're going to go to jail. That's what's going to happen. Farm workers for sure. It's mean. They should be growing marijuana. I'll help. Let's grow it everywhere. It'll cool the planet. I know I sound crazy, but it's not. It's actually, anyway, it's crazy to burn all this, you know, fossil fuel with grow lights indoors. If they disallow outdoor grows, it's just there's so many ridiculous things happening all at once, and it's like a tidal wave of sewage with the president, with the board of supervisors voting for things that really they didn't take any public input at all from us. They just had some people in both meetings. Well, the meeting I went for the two-way Eddy Street, they want to turn that into two ways. That's a hot mess too. I'll tell you another time about it. They're going to have that. 2 ways on Eddy? No, won't work. I watch every day. There's hardly any accidents, so now there's going to be a lot more, I predict. I used to drive around San Francisco, and it was really hard to turn. It took 20 minutes to turn a corner if you drove around here in the 60s, which I did. And, you know, you had to plan a half hour early just to get to the restaurant. So that's bad. They didn't listen to us on that. They, you know, we came in there. I'm president of the Central City Democrats, and do you think they listened? Nope. They're not trying to hear me at all. So that's, a lot are going to retire. A lot of these growers, though, they're going to retire from farming, shift to new farming roles, but a significant number might be continuing to grow for the illegal market, according to Leaf Fly. And California, they want to go big or grow home. There's another related story to that. I don't have time for it. But there's 80,000. I think there's more like 80,000. That's the small. And I mean, we're meant to have this. Cattle ate it, you know. My cat eats it. I came home to a stump forest. My cat had eaten all my little seedlings. And, you know, I'm like, what am I going to do? Put handcuffs on her? She, you know, my cat busted. So Jeff Sessions, and the DEA and Jeff Sessions will start putting the pieces together, it says, about states cannabis goes all over the country, Hezekiah Allen, a cannabis farmer turned lobbyist for the California Growers Association, the DEA, and Jeff Sessions will rightly start putting the pieces together. Well, yeah, especially if they can make a lot of money in the petrochemicals and align them. Say, yeah, Jeff Sessions, yeah, he's a Republican and a white supremacist. He loves Putin. He thinks the sun shines out of his butt. So it just goes to, it stands to reason. Now, that's going to be it for the show. I think I talked too much, but anyway, thanks for listening. If you would like to tweet me and follow my Twitter, right there, Denise Dorey. I've got a lot of stuff on there. You might be interested in. So thanks for watching, and remember to adopt a shelter cat. They're waiting for you. And watch for Psychic Frank's show, 5 p.m. next Thursday. It'll be early August. Or no, it'll be actually next Thursday, the 20, whatever. All right, cheers.